I am really happy to be done with that special stage. Moving on to Title Tempest Zone 3. Remember Labyrinth and how it had kind of a chase boss? Well, we kind of have to do that again. Luckily, this is actually tolerable, and not like a complete chore like the Labyrinth Zone chase, partly because there's like considerably fewer like hazards around. Like there's very little that can actually like damage us, like there aren't spikes or lava obstacles and all that nonsense like an actual Labyrinth. Just a good old-fashioned chase with Robotnik, which is way more doable. You also have invincibility, which is nice. But unlike Sonic 1, we have a little bit of a twist as we head over here. We actually have a proper boss fight this time. I say proper boss fight extraordinarily loosely. Sonic CD does not excel with bosses. Basically every boss sucks, either because it's like really annoying or really easy. This is kind of like a weird hybrid of like the Sonic 1 final boss because of the little laser getting fired at you, but also reminds me of a different boss from I think Sonic 2. And when we get to Sonic 2, you'll see what I mean. The only thing that makes this really difficult is being underwater. I'm actually going to play this very carefully now because I have no rings. I don't think we got a checkpoint. Maybe we did. But also the boss goes down one hit once you can actually get a clear shot at him. So yeah, it's pretty easy, all things considered. Moving on to Quartz Quadrant. I would have liked this to have been our final time stone, but oh well. We'll probably try to get it in the next zone. By the way, we're almost halfway through the game. This isn't that much longer than the original Sonic 1. It is a little bit longer, I feel, especially if you're trying to explore. And again, that's kind of why I'm always a little bit torn about this game, because the way I play Sonic games doesn't necessarily match with the design philosophy of Sonic CD, which isn't necessarily the game's fault, because the game is basically trying to go for a very specific style that just maybe doesn't mesh with me, personally. But I kind of feel like that doesn't make it like a bad Sonic game by any means. It just makes it like not my favorite, basically. But I did warm up to it through this through the 2011 version, in all fairness. It did help, my opinion, having quality of life improvements like the drop dash and spin dash actually working properly and things like that. But it's still very exploration focused, and I tend to not play Sonic games to explore. I tend to play Sonic games that like combine platforming and going fast. But again, that's not necessarily the game's problem that I don't necessarily mesh with this. I'm going very slowly. Okay, we're at the goal. We're fine. Being very careful. You know how I was talking about how basically the last special stage was the worst in terms of gameplay, but there was one that I disliked even more? It's this one. It's 100% this one. Like, I don't struggle with this one as much. Like, we're already doing pretty okay. I feel like the UFOs don't move as, like, awkwardly in this compared to the other one. Like, I can kind of... For some reason, I have a harder time reading the patterns of the other one. But just, man, this background is ridiculous. Like, this is not pleasant to look at. I'm actually trying to not look at the background to the best of my ability and just kind of look at Sonic and the ground and not try to think about the rainbows in the background. You know what the worst part about that special stage is? It actually should probably look a lot prettier than it does. Like, the idea of like a rainbow aesthetic actually is pretty cool, but just the constant like oscillating of it is just really disorienting. So yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't change that, like for the 2011 version. Like, you know, tone down the speed at which it's like oscillating. Because yeah, if it moved a little bit slower, it would still be very bright. But it definitely wouldn't be as, like, actively disorienting. It would be, yeah, kind of blinding, but not as, like, yeah, disorienting to just look at this special stage. I remembered something. If you actually have the future state and you have the little glows behind you, you can actually just kind of run through enemies, and I did that by complete happenstance. I did not mean to do that, but it just worked out that way. But yeah, in general, Sonic games are kind of like that, where it's like, this special stage should be really cool if my eyes weren't in pain from looking at this. And that is definitely like the pinnacle of that in Sonic CD. Again, cool ideas for special stages, but just, yeah, the backgrounds are not pleasant. Anyway, Quartz Quadrant is kind of like, it exists. I don't really have strong feelings on this zone. It's kind of a standard Sonic zone. It's kind of almost like the Starlight equivalent, but then there's also another Starlight equivalent later on. We have these little conveyor belts. We have these little switches that move them also. And thankfully, for our final special stage, we have a static background. Again, if it had just been a static background and not actually moving, that would have also helped with all the bright lights of the last one. But yeah, we don't have much ground here, which is a problem. This might be a couple try one as well, just because, yeah, there's not a lot of ground to stand on. You also can't stop, by the way. Yeah, you're kind of constantly running. So that makes this a little bit awkward. You also bounce around like that, which is not my favorite thing when trying to line up a jump and you just clip a bumper and just go, like, you completely lose control of your movement. But yeah, I almost feel like the more pixelated nature of this version of the special stage actually also makes it harder to see. I didn't realize I was almost out of time. I was almost really close. This is bad, actually. I don't think we're clearing this. Maybe we have a chance. Alright, so we have every time stone, but there's actually a weird quirk. After getting the final time stone, you automatically get a good future. However, the stage immediately after you get the time stones, especially if, like, in this case, if it's boss, it's still the bad future, actually, because it actually takes, like, another stage for it to update or something. I actually don't know why that's the case, but yeah, this is actually Quartz Quadrant bad future. We also have a very unusual boss that I feel like kind of breaks in half in this particular version. So Eggman, or Dr. Robotnik, is on this little platform that's actually making contact with the conveyor belt. So if we actually spin, or in this case, or drop dash, if we try to move to kind of like speed it up, it'll actually cause the bottom of his platform to like scrape against this conveyor belt, actually wearing it down. So that's what we have to do here. We have to keep just running, dodging the bombs dropping from the ceiling, and trying to break this platform. This boss is weird. I actually do prefer having more original boss fights that don't just fall into the standard 8-hit format that most Sonic bosses fall into. Yeah, a lot of these are not stellar. Like points for trying different things with these bosses, but I'm really not a fan of a lot of them. Yeah, the drop dash kind of breaks this fight if you actually use it properly. Well, that's the boss. That didn't take very long at all. As we enter Wacky Workbench, yeah, we have a good feature now. It said good feature at the end, so we actually don't have to worry about robot generators at all. If you want to be a completionist, like I know the original like Steam version had achievements for everything, if you actually wanted to go for everything, you'd actually have to play in a really weird way. You'd basically have to collect the time stones and then also destroy the robot generators, because that's an achievement. But you also would have to not collect enough time stones to actually get rid of the remaining robot generators. You basically have to like collect 6 and then just kind of wait until the very last opportunity to get the 7th if you wanted to do both in one playthrough, like a sort of like a true ending, even though it's the same ending. Wacky Workbench is a weird level, and that's kind of anti-Sonic in level layout. Typically in Sonic, the high path is the fastest one, or the best for score. In Wacky Workbench, you're actually trying to kind of stay low. Like, we have all these floors just bouncing you up, because we actually need to make our way down through the level. Which, as you can see, is a little bit easier said than done. Yeah, I'm not really a fan of this level. Oh yeah, I never continued that story. So yeah, the first time I heard of Sonic CD was through the Mega Collection, because it had the opening and ending animations, which is why I do really like Sonic Boom, even though I do prefer most of the Japanese soundtrack. Like, the boss theme in particular has like weird haunting laughter in it in the American soundtrack, which I'm not a fan of. So yeah, in general, the Japanese soundtrack is better, except I'd personally say the vocal themes. But yeah, the first time I would actually play this game directly would be through the Gems Collection, which I think goes for a lot of people, actually. Being a Sega CD game, it wasn't exactly widely available anywhere, so yeah, I think a lot of people probably first experienced this through Gems Collection. I'm also surprised, speaking of bright effects, I'm surprised they didn't tone down the flashing in this background for the stage. There's a lot of things in this collection where I'm like, I'm amazed they didn't, like, change that, because this feels like, a potential epilepsy problem. This stage is very confusing because of its structure being kind of like, you're trying to stay low instead of going high, like, you know, most Sonic games. So yeah, you're kind of having to go through it differently than usual. I thought I was going to die from that, because I thought that lit up. This is scary, having no rings next to a bunch of, like, hazards like this. But yeah, Sonic CD is a lot more, like, exploration heavy. Yeah, like this. I'm surprised they never toned that down, because that is a little bit much, actually. Not the biggest fan of that. I think we're actually almost to the end of Act 1, thankfully. Or Zone 1. Again, it's kind of weirdly backwards with its wording. There we go, finally out of this zone. Alright, time for Act 2. We have this little launcher platform of sorts. Same deal, we kind of have a bunch of, like, obstacles launching us upwards, even though we probably don't want to go that way. We also have these little wheels. We actually have to jump out of them with proper timing to keep going. That is an interesting placement for that enemy. It's not as bad as it could be. It's not as bad as some Sonic stages I've seen. But there are definitely some cases of quirky or cheap level design that I'm not the biggest fan of. I don't know the timing on that. Wow. I thought, like, okay, wow, that's kind of delayed, actually. Like, as Sonic is swinging right is when you want to press it, because if you press it too late, you'll go left, which, as you can see, is not exactly going well. There we go. Maybe I figured it out? Possibly? And I say that, but I'll probably continue to botch it for a bit, just because it is a little bit quirky in terms of timing. I definitely feel like I'm going the wrong way in a lot of Sonic CD's later stages. Like, you just have this feeling like, is this even remotely where I'm supposed to be going? Because it doesn't feel like it. But again, that kind of leads into the whole, like, yeah, focus on exploration, trying to kind of figure out where you need to go through each stage. So, we're in Wacky Workbench's good future, so it's a lot more, like, vibrant. In general, I almost feel like this game, especially if you go for the time stones, has a problem that other Sonic games have, where it's very front-loaded in terms of gameplay. Like, if you're trying to get 50 rings, hold on to 50 rings, get the time stones, and then you get a good feature automatically in every stage, you kind of don't have to do much in the actual levels. And the robot generators aren't even around anymore, so you don't even have to look for those. I am seriously wondering if I'm actually going the right way. I think this is correct. Maybe? I hope? Yeah, once you actually have all the time stones, it's like you don't really have to do a whole lot. You can just kind of rush through to the end of each stage. So we have another Eggman or Robotnik contraption. The little, like, crystals actually don't damage you, like so, but the little falling debris will. We basically have to use this to jump up to the next platform and, like, land a hit, cause them to fly up again, and try this again. One piece of debris will always fly up a little bit higher, so you have to quickly, like, jump across. Also, the floor is electrified, so be careful. Third hit is a little bit different. Instead of trying to jump to the next level, well, also there are spikes, but instead of trying to jump to the next level, we also have to deal a direct hit to Robotnik's robot machine, like so, and we're good to go. A lot of these bosses actually have 3 hits instead of 8. I'm honestly torn about a lot of these bosses, to be honest. It is, again, conceptually neat to have variety, but a lot of them do feel very shallow.